to the bigger part, the creative writing. Now, yes, now there are, when you talk about creative writing, it is supposed to be written with a creativity of mind. It is, your fiction, your poetry, your creative non-fiction, a lot more, right? Basically, creative writing is about expressing your feelings, your emotions, and your thought. And again, in creative writing, we have two kinds: the good and the bad, and the effective and the ineffective, right? So the good and the effective is obviously going to pay off, whereas the bad and the ineffective is not going to have any long lasting impression or recall value. It's not going to be serving any purpose to your audience and your book. So now, yeah, so then another thing is, what do you mean by, the difference between creative writing and technical writing? Now, when it comes to creative and technical is basically, it has to be governed by a lot of rules, regulation, do's and don'ts. And you have your textbook writing, product description, web copy, or copywriting, reference materials, your formal encyclopedias, and all of that is on the business, the professional writing, right? But when it comes to your creative writing, it's not bound by any rules and regulations, do's and don'ts, and all of that. It is just, you have your own opinions to that you can share. You're free to bring out your writing in your own specific way, in your own form, in your own tone, in your own language, without catering to any kind of pressure from any other management. It's just your creativity that you are trying to bring out, right? So now, creative writing is a form. Yeah. Now, well, getting started with creative writing, the first thing is, what does your protagonist want? Now, example, athlete and a crash victim and all of that. It's pretty, cliche if you just want to say that, yes, my athlete, I'm talking about an athlete who wants to win the race. Yeah, that's simple, and it's in fact very common, an athlete wanting to win the race. But you need to explain the journey of it, what makes your story going to stand out in comparison to another. Now, talking about a car crash victim, yes, how he fought his inner demons, and how he brought motivation back in his life, and what motivated him towards living a fruitful life, and all of that. Again, all of these specific elements need to be mentioned, right? The way, his journey of, how what took him from being in this phase to advancing to another phase. So all of these important elements need to be mentioned. So that's about getting started. So the main thing is, what does your protagonist want? Then you also need to focus on keeping the interest going. So here you need to ramp up the emotional energy. Make sure that your story is not so predictable. If you have a story that is very predictable, and most of your audience already know what the climax is all about, then it's not really going to serve the purpose or have a long lasting impression. So if it's only going to challenge the minds of the audience, that they are thinking in a certain way, but yes, your movie or your book turned out to be completely different from what they thought it would, it's only then that they would spark interest, and a lot of reviews would be there, comments would be there. And yeah, so that's a good way to break the prediction in a book, coming up with something very different from what your audience are thinking. Yeah, so then you need to write a catchy first paragraph. So here you need to catch the attention with unusual, unexpected action or conflict, like begin with something with tension and immediacy. Here short stories especially, they need to start close to the end. If you want to if you're writing a short story, you cannot be very laid back and casual in the first two chapters, and then suddenly bring your plot points out of nowhere, and your conflict out of nowhere, right? So begin with tension and immediacy, and try to make your first paragraph have a lot of curiosity It's only then that people would want to read further ahead. Okay, now for example, talking about using flowery words and stuff, I saw him walk towards me. This is one sentence. Okay, now if you want to write it in a very creative manner, it would be like, and when I saw him walk towards me, the whole world came at a standstill. I felt the entire cosmos and the galaxy united to bring our souls together. So something like, making it more creative, using more flowery language. So that's all about your creativity. And yeah, it's more like, baking a cake. You need to make sure that all the ingredients are balanced well. So you need to make sure here your characters are balanced well, as your ingredients need to be balanced while baking a cake. And if you do not balance your characters well, it's going to be all a big mess and a chaos. Now, while developing your characters, you need to also know their likes, their dislikes, their personality traits, the favorite color, food, the flaws, their phobias, their hobbies, their the way they dress up, their appearance, and each and every tiny detail, as if your character is a living person. So you need to focus on four main areas while developing your characters. They would be the appearance, the action, the speech, and the thought. So these are four main areas you need to work around while developing your characters. Okay, yeah. So now for example, you need to give a name, the age, the hair color, the type, the height, your personality type. If he or she likes pets, give the pets an intro, what she studies, where she works, if she plays any kind of instruments, where her residence is, where does she live, what's her favorite food like, the way she dresses up, with whom she likes to spend her time with, in certain situations, the way she behaves in different situations with different people. So make sure you include all of these. So it's only then that you're kind of giving a 3D character. It's only then that you're building 3D characters to your story. Right. The next is choose a point of view. Now, the narration of the story from the first, second person's perspective would be different, right? So you need to choose your point of view, whether it's the first, second, or third person. Now, the first person here, the narrator is either the main character, or the narrator is a secondary character telling the story revolving the main character, right? So the narrator is either the main character, or the narrator is the secondary character telling the story that revolves around the main character. So I, me, myself is all in the first person. Now, second person is you. Okay, so here you means the story is told directly to you, with the reader as a participant in action. So second person is the reader, is the participant in action when I'm trying to include you, when I'm directly talking to my readers as you. Okay, so you are a survivor, you are great, you clapped your hands with joy. So this is my second person. The second person is great for copywriting when you are writing your ad copies and advertisements and stuff. Okay, now the third person here, the narrator is the writer. Okay, so he, she, they, all of this is in the third person. So yeah, you need to rightly choose your point of view, and then you need to write meaningful dialogues. So now dialogues are what characters say to each other or to themselves, right? So use proper quotations, quotes, write proper quotes, use context and settings. So here you need to close your eyes and imagine your characters within desert, right? So include the elements like the time, the location, the atmosphere, where the plot takes place, and all of these. The next is you need to combine the setting with the characters and the plot. So here you need to include every tiny detail, like, use two or more senses in your description. Let your readers experience the setting as your characters do. Yeah, then another thing is you need to set up the plot. So plot is, like I've already told you, plot is what happens, to your story or storyline, the action. So your plot, it's basically, plot is a series of events that are deliberately arranged to reveal the suspense drama and emotional significance, right? So these are your plots, a series of events that are deliberately arranged in order to reveal the suspense, the drama, and your emotional significance. Yes, then another important thing is, when you get stuck, there may be a point wherein you're running out of ideas, you are not able to go ahead and continue from one event to another event, from one situation to another, or from one plot to another, or from one conflict type to another. Here you need to indulge in brainstorming. So if you have trouble on deciding your plot, then you need to go ahead and do the brainstorming bit. If your protagonist is all of a sudden defamed, and a partner calls off the relationship, right? So if this is where your story is stuck at, now you need to go ahead and ask different people what happens next. So select one action from the list and brainstorm another list from the particular action. So one may say that she decides to commit suicide. Another one may say no, she fought her way out of her own situation, she broke her nutshell and she came out. And if you want to choose this, okay, fine. Otherwise, if you say that yes, you want to go ahead with she committed suicide, then from another point, go ahead and once she's committed suicide, what happens? Does the guy realize, or do her friends kind of fight for her and give her justice? So this would be the brainstorming ideas, shifting from one situation to another. Then yeah, so you can create conflict and tension from one plot to another, that protagonist against man, you're against nature, against self, against society. So make sure you work this out well. Then here is, last of all, you build your crisis or climax. So this is basically the moment the reader has been waiting for. Like, in Cinderella, it is ultimately the last girl and the shoe fits her rightly. So that is the ultimate moment. And then in Frozen, when the two sisters hugged, that was actually the action of true love. And the action of true love has been redefined in Frozen. It's not like by a prince coming and saving her, or a prince coming and kissing her forehead, and it's only then that's a form of true love and all that. Here, Frozen had a complete new take on what new love is all about. So this is, working differently and building your climax is going to work well for you. Then, yeah, you need to go ahead and find a resolution. If you are coming up with the second version or third version, make sure you do not end your climax in the first version. Make sure you leave enough of room for curiosity, so that you come back in the second version and you come back with a bang, and a lot of people would be waiting for your book number 2. So yeah, so here word power, use catchy words, synonyms, antonyms, idioms, metaphors are basically something that beautifies the sentence. Now, talking about word power, we'll go into, discussing the figurative language. Now, figurative language is basically your figures of speech, right? So this would definitely be useful for creative writing and creative writers. So first one is metaphors. Now, metaphors is basically making a hidden comparison, right? So now I'll give you examples. Now, if someone sleeps very early, no, if someone, yeah, night owl, yeah, if you want to say she is a night owl, or she is or love is a treasure box. Okay, so when you say love is a treasure box, you are directly implying and comparing it to the treasure box with a hidden meaning and a hidden comparison, right? So love is literally not a treasure box, but you are saying love is a treasure box directly. He is a tiger. She is the moon. She is the way to heaven, or whatever. Like, love is a treasure box. Just stick to this example. I'll explain it easily. So love is a treasure box is a metaphor. But when I say love is like a treasure box, then it becomes simile. So let me just quickly put it down here so you get a better understanding. Yes, metaphor. Love is a treasure box, right? Now simile would be like Her cheeks are as red as a cherry. Okay, so when you're using as and like, or he is brave like a tiger, also is a simile, but metaphor would be, see, metaphor, he is a tiger. Simile, right? So this is your simile. Now coming to personification. Now, personification is when you apply human qualities to an animal or an object, right? Now, an example for this is the storm aggressively banged on my door. Okay, so the storm is obviously not a human. You are applying the human quality which is banging on the door. Banging on the door is a human quality. So when you're applying human quality to an animal or an object, right? So that is personification, or you can say the lightning danced across the sky. Now moving on to hyperbole. So hyperbole, this is exaggeration. When you're trying to exaggerate a little too much, then it becomes your then it becomes a hyperbole. So hyperbole is, you can say, the journey forever. Obviously, the journey cannot literally take forever, but when you're trying to exaggerate, or you can say a hyperbole is I love you to the moon and back, right? So that's again some exaggeration out there. So anything exaggerated, you have metaphor done, you have simile, personification, and hyperbole done. Now, what are idioms? Idioms, you can say, are like they have again some hidden meaning. Like for example, let me say, don't cry over spilt milk. They have a hidden meaning, and make sure you use idioms only when you know the hidden meaning of it. So this means to say, now what is over is over. You can't cry over what is already gone. You can't cry over what's already done, right? So you're regretting for something you shouldn't have done or yesterday. So the idiom here would be used as, okay, what's done is done, don't cry over spilt milk. So some of the other idioms would be not all that glitters is not gold, don't judge a book by its cover, cut your coat according to your cloth. Yeah, so these are some of the examples for idioms. Then you have pun. Now what are puns? So they say pun intended, you would have heard. So pun is basically uses a word play for a humorous effect, right? So here it would be, where do you find giant snails? Do you find giant snails? And here, pun intended would be at the tip of the giant's fingers. So yeah, so someone will generally ask you, where do you find giant snails? So pun intended at the tip of giant's finger. So it means to say, the way you are playing with giant snails and the giant nails, right? So this is one pun intended thing. So these are puns. Yeah, so then what are synonyms? Synonyms are basically the word with similar meaning. Like, if you have evil, then the synonyms for evil would be bad and wicked. So the synonyms for gloomy would be sad and unhappy. Then antonyms are words with opposite meanings, whereas, so let me just put it on here, antonyms are opposites. Antonyms are opposites. Synonyms are words with the same meaning, same or similar meanings. Then what are homonyms? Here, these are words that are spelled and pronounced the same but have different meanings, right? So you could say bear. Yeah, homonyms are like, yeah, bear and bear. The first bear is the animal. The second bear, you can say, I cannot bear the cold, I cannot bear the heat, I cannot bear this gloomy weather. Then another example would be change. See a change and change. We are talking weather change. So same spelling, same pronunciation, but different meaning. Right now, let's go to homophones. So homophones are same words, it has a different meaning. They sound the same, but they are spelled differently. Okay. Now, if I say cell and cell, so different spelling, but different meaning, but pronounced the same. So here, here, and here. 8 and 8. So these are some of the these are some of the homophone examples. So these make sure that you work a lot on your metaphors, your similes. These are all your figurative language that actually going to add color and make your what do you say? Make your in fact enhance your creativity and enhance your writing. Yeah, now looking into the different types of creative writing. Now, creative writing can be part of professional writing as well. Now, when you have creative content writing, creative SEO, creative copywriting, creative blog writing, creative script writing, creative proposal writing, right? So let's look one by one in detail. So yeah, how do you begin with creative writing? So the very first thing is begin with catchy and curious title. Then opening plot, set the opening plot that kind of creates interest in the readers in the subject. Then readers engagement, write what your readers can relate and imagine to encounter their engagement. Comparisons, and it helps in creative writing to take the reader into the world of your characters with comparing with the real life situations. Yeah, making sure you do a little bit of comparison so people, like how when you listen to songs, it kind of takes you back to certain memories. So same thing, make sure that your book also has some kind of situations wherein people can generally relate to. Then you have your climax. The last note of the write-up differs from the subject. Yeah, so this we have already spoken about. Techniques of creative writing. Now you have the setting. Yes, the setting, the place, the context, the time, everything has to be in sync to a situation. Then the point of view, yeah, you can say the first, second, and the third person point of view. And yes, always start with the third person. Now, when you are starting, if you are trying to narrate the story, you narrate the story and then you can go ahead with, changing the point of view when it is coming to dialogues and stuff. But again, there's no hard and fast rule. It's up to you the way you want to go ahead. And like we said, creative writing does not have any rules to be, any rules to abide to and stuff. All you need to do is you need to just go ahead and focus on what really brings out the flow to your piece. Yeah. Then the sensory images, use of adjectives that enables the reader to sense the words with visualizing, feeling, hearing, smelling. So these are all your descriptive writing elements. Then your personification and symbolism, so comparing objects with human activities and experiences and using symbolism. You're basically when you're talking about personification, we just discussed, but in symbolism, if you see, there are certain now for example, a black crow or a raven, it symbolizes unhappiness, one black crow, but when it goes to two, it symbolizes happiness. So it depends on the way you want to use these, or maybe an owl. It in fiction, anything is possible. An owl is a very wise character in your story. So it's up to you the way you want to symbolize your character. Yeah, it could be different ways that you want to go ahead and use in your character. I mean, in your story. So it's absolutely up to you. There's no hard and fast rule the way you want to go ahead and use in your book. Then, yeah, literary devices. You have assonance. Now, what do you mean by assonance? Right? You have assonance. So it's basically your resemblance of sound between syllables of words. So, or you can use like rhyming of two or more stressed vowels, basically. So, you can use that. The use of assonance throughout the poem creates the sound of despair. Then some of the examples would be like, hear the mellow wedding bells. So then try to light the fire. I lie down by the side of my bride. Fleet feet sweep by sleeping geese. Hear the lark and the hardened to the barking of the dark fox gone to ground by Pink Floyd. Okay, there are so many examples if you can just look up. Anyways, using your hyperbole, we spoke about hyperbole. It's something exaggeration. right? So when you're trying to exaggerate and when you're saying the journey took forever and all of that, yeah. Now, what's an anaphora? Basically, the repetition of a word or phrase at the beginning. Okay, now the use of a word referring back to a word used earlier in a text or conversation. So this is basically to avoid the repetition. For example, here you use your pronouns, right? So he or she, it, and they, and the verb, in like, instead of saying Mr. Grievance, or instead of saying Mr. Brown, Mr. White, and again saying Mr. Brown went ahead, Mr. Brown came this side. Just anaphora is basically trying to cut the repetition by use of pronouns and stuff. Okay, then Goldilocks approach. So Goldilocks approach is not too little, not too much of descriptions. Make sure it is all balanced. When you are trying to balance it, make sure that it is properly well balanced, so that you do not have any kind of emphasis or focusing too much or too little. Then show don't tell. So show don't tell, bring out. You need to, in creative writing and your novels, it's all about painting a picture in the minds of your audience. You do not just tell them it is so and so and so and so. Just show them in the way of your descriptions. Then some of the toolkits for your creative writing. So toolkits for creative writing, if you want a lot of other mentioned stuff that is here, of other elements, if you are into stationery and stuff, that I could give you some good shopping sites where you can go and gift yourself something nice, or probably you can tell this is what you want for your birthday. Okay, so you have Gallon Leather. These are, good shopping stuff for your notebooks, your pen cases, and a lot more. This is an online shopping website. Then you have Cult Pens. Then you have Paper Chase. Then, if you want to go into, some daily practices or some other toolkits basically for writers, then this is 750words.com. This is basically like a daily writing practice. You get to earn badges, you get your metrics after each task that you have completed, writing task that you have completed. Then there is this other app, Write or Die. Sounds very mean though. Then you have some for your online dictionaries. You have Behind the Name. For online dictionaries, you have Behind the Name. So these are good for finding your character names. Okay, then yeah, so some of the writing communities online. So some of your writing communities online. My Write Club. Yes, My Write Club. Then you have For the Words. This is like a gaming app. Your gaming community, you guys can battle monsters as you write, complete quests and earn crystals. Then you have Haiku Jam. This Haiku Jam is a cool new app. In fact, what happens is, it's like haiku is just like a 4-liner phrase or poetry or whatever, the Japanese thingy. So here, on this app, you get to choose a particular topic or a particular category that you want to write on. So you can start writing, and it just lets you write 2 to 3 words or 4 words or something. And then before haiku is complete, after the 4 words that you've written, it just basically flies out through all the people who are on haiku. And then anyone interested may want to join you and complete the second sentence. And then the third person will come and do the finishing line. So likewise, you can start off a haiku, or you can join in between and try and add. And once the haiku is created, it will fall on all your walls that, this is the haiku you have created, and you can get a lot of likes, and there are a lot of haiku challenges and a lot of haiku games and stuff. So yeah, this is a cool gaming writing app as well. Then if you want something for ambient music, you can use this brain.fm. This is really cool when you want to listen to some kind of music and make sure that your thoughts are getting to where it's supposed to be going. Then yeah, okay, then for PDF tools, if you want some PDF tools. You have Doc Hub, which is a PDF editor. Then you have small PDF to compress the files. Small PDF to compress files. Then you have PDF Escape. This is to upload PDFs and convert them into forms, right? So then you have your PDF Escape. Then apart from this, you also have a Writer's Challenge. This is an app to build creative ideas, characters, and dialogues. Plot Generator. This would help you to generate plots for different genres and plot settings. Then Brainstormer, you can get endless combination through spinning wheel of characters and plots and scenes. Then creativity reminders, bookmark your favorite ideas and do a lot more on offlow, however you wish to pronounce it. Yeah. How creative professional writing is different. Yes, now your creative professional writing, it includes creative content, copy, script, blog writing is different from the conventional set of writing with the involvement of conceptualization, use of imaginations, and attractive words, incorporating storytelling, like curating stories to write creatively about a company or its products. So yes, now creative professional writing, now especially today in each and every sector of business or of any industry, they are trying to bring in the creativity bit to it, right? So the more creative you get, the better you are able to go ahead and connect with your audience and reach out and send your message more creatively, especially when you are into selling your product or your services. You need to be very creative in the way you are putting it out there to your audience, making sure that your message is sent out very strongly yet very creatively, that has a recall value. Yeah, so that's your creative writing, creative professional writing. So tips on creative writing. Yes, you need to use a lot of flowery words. Make sure they are not too hard to understand. They should make sense with the context. Of course, just because you want to forcefully try and put in some metaphors where it is not necessary, try and cut out the dead weight. Make sure you use flowery words and make sure it is in sync to your writing style. Make sure it is not out of your context. Make sure it is simple for people to understand, especially with relevance to your audience in mind, right? Then make text creative, but do not ramble and don't tell your readers to get lost. Obviously, you do not want them to get lost. You want to keep it very simple, which is the KISS strategy. Keep it short and simple. But when you are doing novels and stuff, don't stick to the short part. Short part is mostly for your ad copies and for your business writing. Okay, then creative writing should always accompany simplicity. It should not sound complicated and out of the context. Yes, your creative writing should be simple. It should not be very complicated. It should not have words that people do not really understand in today's world. Make sure your readers can relate with the story and creative ideas you are trying to develop. Don't overuse adjectives, idioms, metaphors that it looks unfit to your story, right? You want to make sure that it looks apt to wherever you are using the different figurative language. Online publishing forums, you have Goodreads, you have Wattpad, you have booksonlive.com, you have Critic Circle and Faith Writers. Especially Goodreads and Wattpad is like the end thing. Make sure you have it installed and you can add books that you want to read one after the other, and you can do the reviewing after you've read books and all of that. So this is a good platform for you to actually read a lot more. And yes, you can even publish your own, you can put out your book there. If you have your book and stuff, you can go ahead and put it out there on Goodreads. Okay, so sample of creative writing. This is like a script. So script is basically based on scenes, scene 1, scene 2, and scene 3 and the like. We'll get into, we will get into, script writing as well. Next is, let's move on to dialogue. So here again in dialogue, I'll take you through the interesting parts. Okay. Now you have the inner dialogue and the outer dialogue. So these are the two main types of dialogue.
Inner dialogue is what's happening inside a character's head. Outer dialogue is the character is saying it out loud. Inner dialogue, the character is talking inside his head. Okay, I'm not sure if I told you about this series called You. Okay, it's on Netflix. It's like crime and suspense and whatever. But that very series has like a lot of inner dialogues. So basically, inner dialogues are this character is a part of the story, but whatever is going on in his mind, none of the other characters know except for us audience. Only we know what he's thinking, what he's feeling right now. Otherwise, he just has a poker face, and whatever is going on in his mind, none of the other characters know. So the other characters are basically oblivious, and we as audience, we know what are the inner dialogues. Got it? Outer dialogue is just like normal way of communicating when one character talks to the other character. Okay, so that's the outer dialogue. Okay. The punctuation. So when you have like a question mark, it goes inside the quotations. Okay, so you see these two quotations here. So, mom, can I have a quarter so I can buy a gumball? Right? So this is put inside quotes. And since the question is also a part of the dialogue, the question mark goes inside the quotes. Then, Ren, are you planning on stopping by barbecue? Question mark. Then, no, I'm not. Ren answered, I'll catch you next time. Full stop also goes inside the quotation marks. So full stop or exclamation or your question marks, all of that goes inside your quotations. Okay. Now another thing is the single quotation marks also are there and the double quotation marks are there. Okay. So the double quotation is very American and the single quotation marks are British. So if this was a British style of writing, instead of having two quotations, you would have single quotations. Clear? Americans use double quotations. Fine. But to be honest, the double quotations are more popular than the single quotations. Even if you're reading a British book, you would find double quotations as well. So yeah, it's more common, I can say. Yeah, these are just the structuring, which, like I said, your question marks or your full stops go inside the quotations. Begin and end with quotation marks. Yeah. So whenever you have your dialogues, you identify that it's a dialogue because of the quotation marks. So you begin and you end with the quotation marks. Periods, comma, question marks, and exclamation. If the dialogue tag comes before the quotation, then you would use a period. Okay. Meaning if a dialogue comes before the quotation. Where is it? 1 second. Yeah. Okay. So this is a dialogue tag. So Ren answered, full stop. I'll catch you next time. Okay. So dialogue tags are like he answered, she said, he said, all of those. So you see this? Ren answered. Okay. And it is in between a split dialogue, correct? No, I'm not. Ren answered. So this is the completion of Ren's dialogue. So I could have had this before. I would have said, Ren said, no, I'm not. Okay. So if I would say Ren said, meaning I would say Ren said, comma, and then I would say, no, I'm not. But I'm having Ren answered the dialogue tag after Ren's dialogue. So then I finish it with a full stop. If this Ren answered was before the dialogue, then I would not have full stop. I would have comma. Got it? So no, I'm not is the dialogue coming before the dialogue tag. So I have a comma here. And the dialogue tag is after the dialogue. So I have a full stop here. If the dialogue tag had to be before the dialogue, Ren answered, comma, no, I'm not, full stop, close the quotes. Fine? Okay, that's the comma, your question marks, your exclamation. Like I said, it goes inside the dialogue, quotes. There's too much of extra info. This is okay. That's about it.
Hi guys, welcome all of you. Let's talk about script writing. So in a very simple layman's language, let's understand what is script writing and how is it different from a book writing or a story writing. So script is also a story, of course. Okay, what is the difference between when you write a book, when you narrate a story in a book, and when you are writing or when you're writing a script? Script is specifically written for screen. So when you watch a movie, that is script writing. Okay. So you would have heard that a lot of books, a lot of novels are converted into movies. There are a lot of movies that are based on a particular novel. Okay. So then those novels get converted into script. Okay. So it's not that there is this book written and just a movie can be enacted on that book. But first of all, there is a script that has to be written in order to project all of those scenes in the book, in the movie, because there is a huge difference. All right. So we will understand exactly with one script that how exactly it works. Okay. So the process of screenwriting is a constant reminder that you're writing for screen. So if you write the line, he remembers their past fight. This is what you write in the book. What would that look like on a screen is what you need to think, and you need to write the exact fight, that in the past, what types of fightings have happened between them, and then you need to create it. So that is the difference when you write a book wherein you can simply write, he remembers their past fight. And when it is on the screen, then you need to create in your mind what types of fights, what kinds of fights. Okay. And you need to create those fights also. Okay, so continue. You need to always continuously remember that script writing is about writing for screen. Rest of the things remains the same. You outline the story, you decide the narrative, you decide the plot, theme of the story, dialogues, okay, cutting down the dead weight. Okay, so all of this is something that you do in your simple story writing as well, because script is also a story. So the process remains the same, but how when you write the script gets changed. Just have a look at this from this example that is in front of you. So if you can see, this is just a sample of two scenes. Okay, so imagine that in one movie, which is for 2 hours, how many scenes would be there? Okay, so there is something when you write a script, there is something called scene heading, which is also called slug line. Okay. So scene heading, which means from where the scene number one starts. This is external, which means that at this home, this is the external scene of this house. Okay. And this is a night time. So this is the heading. Now, what does it mean? It means that on screen, now what the audience will see, they will see this house, external of the house, exterior of the house in the night. Okay. And what exactly are they seeing on the screen? That is called action. Okay. So when the movie is getting opened here, when this scene is getting open, what are you going to see? You're going to see the house, and you're going to see, because it's a night scene, you will see the front window is illuminated by the light inside. Okay. And we see just a still of a human figure, not clearly. So you would have noticed a lot of time when there is a movie that's getting started, you would see in the dark, especially if it is a night scene, you would see just some human figure, and then camera gets closer to that particular figure, and that is when you figure out who that person is exactly. So it's written from that perspective, that on screen what the audience is going to see in scene number one, just a still of human figure, that some human figure is there which is inside the house. We push in closer as we slowly see a boy running around the house. And as in when the camera goes closer to the house, that is when we see that it's a small boy who is just running around the house. So this is the scene heading, and what is happening in this scene becomes the action. So here action doesn't mean the literal action. Okay. And this is scene number 1. So scenes are written in number 1, and then another scene when after this particular action, when some other action is happening, that will become scene number 2. And cut to means the transition from scene number 1 to scene number 2. So when the movie is getting the shooting is happening of the movie, it always happens in scenes. Okay, scene number 1 and how many takes an actor is taking, scene number 1, scene number 2, and then all of the scenes, there is editing that happens, and then all of the scenes get collaborated, and after that you see it in a movie. The transition from scene number 1 to scene number 2, then from scene number 2 to scene number 3, that transition needs to be so smooth, and it always happens so smoothly that you don't even figure out, the audience who is watching, that the scene is getting changed. Okay, otherwise it will be very boring for you to see. Initially, I'm not sure if you would have ever watched any movie in the black and white era. You will always see a very abrupt sort of disconnect, okay, when the screen used to get blank, and it was a it was like very clear that the scene has got disconnected, because then the technologies were not very advanced for editing. Okay, so you could clearly figure out a lot of time that editing has happened here. So these are the scene numbers written. Cut to, as I said, is known as transition, used as transitional instructions for editing. Okay, now this is another heading. Now this is interior, the inside, what is happening of this house. It's a kitchen scene, okay, in the night. So that is how you know that the shooting has to happen in the night. Okay, so this is all a job of a script writer to think that this particular scene that's happening, whether it is happening in the night or day, evening, okay, in the house, in which corner of the house, whether bedroom, kitchen, hall, drawing room, where is it exactly happening, this particular scene? So now what we are seeing now in scene number 2, we will see a green ball sits on the countertop. A young hand snatches it. It belongs to Filbert, Viri, lost in his own imaginary world. So who is Filbert? Filbert is a character, that small little boy, and he's playing with his ball, dressed as a knight, a toy sword in his other hand. And then when a character says something, you write that character's name, and the heading and the character's name are always in capital. Okay, so this is character. Filbert is the character. Okay, now something that's written in the bracket is known as parenthetical. Okay, parenthetical always gives extra information that what this character is doing. So what this character is doing, voice over. VO means voice over. This is known as extension. So what is the meaning of extension in script writing? It clarifies that where the character is when they can't be seen. So voiceover simply means when there are two characters in a scene. So here there are two characters. One is Filbert. In this scene number 2, there are two characters. One is Filbert, one is Becky. Okay, so Becky is talking in the phone. So she's on the phone. Now what happens that when Filbert is saying this is my castle, is a little boy, he's just playing. Okay, and he's imagining himself as knight and he's playing, and these are his dialogues when he's just playing in his own imaginative world. This is my castle, I am sworn to protect it. Anyone that stands in my way shall bear the wrath of the Almighty. And when he's saying this, so imagine it this way, that on screen, these are two characters and this scene is going on wherein this little boy is saying this dialogue, and at the same time, his babysitter, because a small boy, he's alone in the house and he's there with a babysitter. Just then a babysitter named Becky is passing from there. Okay. And she is on the phone with the mom of the boy, Filbert's mom, Tracy. Okay. So now in this one scene, there are two characters. So Becky is also talking at the same time when Filbert is saying these dialogues. But on screen, you can see Becky in front. She's talking with Filbert's mom, telling him about what is happening, that Filbert is okay, he's just playing. Okay, this is what she's informing his mom. So while Becky is talking into the phone, as you can see, okay, into the phone while she's talking, what Filbert is doing. This extension voice over means when the other person is on the screen, what the other character is doing, if there are two characters. So which means voice over, which means a voice is overlapping, which means when Becky is talking to Filbert's mom, Filbert is saying these dialogues at the same time. Because imagine, that is why script writing gets a little difficult at times. Because imagine if there are two characters in a scene, and imagine this particular scene in your mind, that if there is a babysitter and there is a boy playing, and you need to show this scene on a screen, you can't really ask the boy to go out of the scene, or you can't just make that boy just do nothing, okay? Because the boy is playing. So voice over means that at the same time when the other character is saying something or talking over the phone or doing anything else at the same time, okay, this particular character is saying these dialogues. Okay, so this is known as extension. Parenthetical give extra information as to what this character is exactly doing. So into the phone means Becky, now she's talking on the phone. Okay. Then whatever is written under the name of the character is known as dialogue. Okay. So dialogue doesn't mean those powerful, impactful dialogue that we generally as a viewer know as a dialogue, right? That, oh, this movie is amazing. It has got some impactful dialogues. Everything is a dialogue in a movie. When you are writing, okay, and you're giving any script to a particular character or an actor, supporting actor, extra characters, foil characters, whoever it is, okay, then all of that they are saying that is a dialogue, okay. Now what happens that from kitchen, I'm so sorry, from kitchen, now the scene shifts to the hallway. Now that boy who was playing in the kitchen, obviously they all are moving, he would not stay there, okay. So what happens that he moves to a different location. So when in the same place, the location gets changed, that is known as intercut. Instructions when cutting to multiple locations. Okay, so intercut phone conversation simply means that Becky, while she was talking on the phone when they were in the kitchen, now she's moving from kitchen to the hallway along with Filbert. Tracy, oh, that's perfectly normal. Tracy is Filbert's mom. So she is replying that it is perfectly normal if he is playing. Filbert lifts his sword in the air and lets out a big battle cry and sprint from the kitchen to the hallway. So that is why it is an intercut. From kitchen to the hallway, now the intercut happens and this becomes the subheader. Why it is a subheader and why it is a header? Because this scene has started from this home. Now from this home, the scene has changed to hallway. So these are all these subheaders when the location is getting changed. Okay. Use when there are minor changes in the location. So Filbert comes around the corner distracted by his fantasy. He's still in his fantasy and behaving like a knight. And what happens? He's just a little child. He just got bumped into the wall just while playing it. And what happens is because he got this bump into the wall, the ball which was there in his hand, it just slips from his hand and he just felt a little giddy for some time. Everything slows down for Filbert. So this is how each and every act, scene, is written for characters in the script writing, which is why script writing is a little more difficult and a process of a lot of thinking, because scene by scene for every single character you have to think that how is this exactly happening. So this is the same scene when you usually see that the ball is just going down the stairs and the camera now rolls to that ball and the child is following the ball and there is this echo sound that is happening, that is coming out of the ball. So Filbert's point of view, In slow motion, the ball tumbles down the stairs, and we hear, as an audience, each bounce, okay, echo as the ball travels down the steps. And shot simply means where the camera is rolling. So camera rolls from kitchen to the hallway, and now when ball slips from the hand from hallway to downstairs, and camera is rolling and showing the point of view of Filbert only. So this is just an example of two scenes. Now imagine that how is it so many scenes in a movie, are written. The rest of the things in a script remains the same: structure, plots, characters, concept, okay? But it is all about writing it and thinking about the each and every scene, the background of the scene, how the actors are behaving, what are they saying, how are they saying, how is their gesture, if there is a dialogue, how is that person saying that dialogue while having a phone in his hand, while keeping the phone down, while sipping the cup of coffee, everything you have to think. Okay? This is just another sample for script writing. All right, guys, so that will be all for script writing. I'll see you in the next video now.
Moving on to fiction writing. So fiction writing is again, something that is unrealistic. So when you're writing on, some unreal situations not based on true events, that comes into your fiction. So here you have your novel writing, and you can include different pieces of stuff that is purely not on based on true events, right? So here it is your non-factual prose text. Basically, it's a story to entertain, or basically to convey the author's point of view, right? So it is a story to entertain, wherein you can convey the writer's point of view or the author's point of view and all of that. So yeah. So the first thing goes with the establishing the character and setting up the plot. So basically, the first thing is, we have spoken about understanding your characters, having a balanced character, and then going ahead with setting up plots, and and the like. And the second part is the central problem. So this is the part where it revolves around your conflict type, or you can say your main plot or your storyline. And towards the end, you can say is the climax. The climax is the ultimate thing. Like again, I said, if you want to come up with the story, to make sure towards the end you have a lot of curiosity. If you have a lot of curiosity, like especially your Bahubali movie, which had a lot of games also played on social media. So you had like version 1, version 2. So make sure your book has a very not abrupt, basically it should have like a very curious kind of a ending, that people want to get back and purchase your book number 2 to see what's in store in book number 2 and how it's progressing, right? So there are some tips to do your fictional writing. So here you can say that there are, yes, diction. So in diction, the right choice of your words, the terminologies and phrases. So basically the set of your words, which are very each author has his own set of words, has his own diction. So that's the diction part. And syntax is the way you structure those words, the way you structure your diction to come up with logical sentences and meanings, right? Then you have choosing your appropriate form of descriptions. Now that's in your descriptive writing, wherein we discussed about the visual, the oral, the olfactory, the tactile, and the gustatory. It does not mean to say that in every single page or in every single event you try and include all of these elements. It does not go that way. It works on what really works best, how many elements you can have included in each situation. So it can differ. Probably in situation 1 you can just include 2. In situation 3, when you're using the context and setting together, maybe the gustatory may not come into picture, so then just cut that out. So whatever is relevant, make sure you include those elements. Then coming to dialogues, you have your directed, interpolated, misdirected, and modulated. This again, we have dialogue writing, where we will discuss these 4 different dialogue types, right? Then language, so here you have the tone of language. So in your language tone, the way your tone, the characters, they have their own special tones, whether they are very aggressive the way they speak, or whether they are very polite, generous, kind. So all of that is depicted in the language that they use. And then allegory is using story and poem excerpts in between. So yeah, you can use a little bit of different phrases or quotes from other authors in between. Then your rhythm is maintaining the flow and the rhythm of narration, the way you are, your tone, the transitions, the smooth transitions from one situation to another, from one chapter to another, or you can also say from one paragraph to another. So you need to have that continuous flow and a smooth transition. Yeah. Then fiction writing techniques. Yes, creating 3D characters. When I say creating 3D characters, it means to say make the characters more real. So when your audience are trying to read, they need to make sure that the characters are, they are now having an emotional connection. So that is why you see this is what makes people to actually cry in the movies or in a story. This is what makes them kind of, bring tears to their eyes, right? So that's your character part. Then coming to the imagination and the comparison. So here you need to use your imaginations to describe the situations if you are in fiction, because it's like a non-factual prose text, right? So here you need to bring your creativity in the way you bring out your imaginations. So basically it's about painting a picture in the minds of your audience. Then evocating setting, that is enable the setting of a setting of scenes to sit in the mind of the readers that they can recall, right? So yeah, how you can use it and make sure that it kind of connects with your readers. Then you have choosing your jargons and all of that. Make sure it is, again, you need to keep your audience in mind when you are selecting your words. Make sure that it is not Greek and Spanish or Latin to them. Make sure it is relevant. Choosing your point of view, then again, this goes with any part of your writing, be it script, be it fiction, be it narration, any kind of writing that you get down to, it comes with your point of view. Then showing versus telling. So make the readers to visualize rather than just informing the event, right? Then talking about motifs. So basically motifs are something to add beauty to your writing. So if you want to know what motifs are, they are just something that goes down to, that are used at the end of a chapter. So that is what your motif is actually about. If I just quickly pull it up, maybe you'll get a fair idea if you're into a lot of novel reading and stuff. So you will see that is used at the end of a chapter, or beginning of a chapter, these kind of designs basically. So those are your motifs. So if you just pull it up, you'll get a fair idea of what motifs are. So you can say motifs for books also and be more specific. If you go to images, so you have different, when let us say design. So here you have these designs, right? Something like, for example, this could be used at the end of a chapter, something like these, whichever you think seems relevant to your book, or if you want to put some things across in between your book. So yeah, this could be used. So these are pretty much good examples of motifs. So yeah, so use a lot of motifs. These kind of add depth and beauty to your writing by using motifs. And showing versus telling, that's yes, make your reader visualize rather than just informing about the event. Now, apart from these, you also have something like, it says you need to give your characters motivation. You need to keep them motivated, basically, for them to arrive at, drive them, basically what's driving them towards achieving their goals. Then you need to make sure that if you have no tears, that's not going to bring the tears in the eyes of your readers. So you need to make sure that your story kind of hits you deep down in your heart. It's then that it's going to have an emotional connect. with your readers as well. Yeah. Then and then another thing is you need to trust yourself, value your own judgment, and yeah. Then revising your format, you have to check your. This revising goes basically over everything that you write. It could be checking the point of view, the tone, the context, the flow, the logical structure, then checking the division of your chapters, whether each chapter has a good start and a finish, whether there are good transitions from chapter 1 to chapter 2, whether it is interlinked. Then you need to check and cross check the scenes, the process, the structure, the grammar, the speech and the tones and all of that, right? So apart from that, there are also three different types of irony when it comes to your fictional writing. So the first one being your verbal irony, your situational irony, and your dramatic. Now, talking about the verbal irony, it is basically, the intended meaning is different from the actual outcome. So here it is the expected outcome is different from the actual outcome. That's in your situational irony. But coming to your dramatic, this is something really dramatic. Here, your audience knows about the character's situations more than the character themselves know. So here a good example would be like, your Romeo and Juliet. So basically the audience are aware that Juliet isn't really dead, that she's just consumed a potion, magical potion, you can say, that appears her to be dead, but she isn't actually dead. But in that case, what happens? The audience know, but Romeo, he is a part of the, the whole play, and he being a character in the story or the play, he himself is unaware. So he is under the impression that Juliet is already dead, and he consumes the poison and he happens to die, and that's the end of the story. So this is your dramatic irony. The audience are aware of the character's situation more than the characters themselves do. Yes, so then there are different types of fiction. You have your suspense, you have your crime, you have your detective, then you have your tragedy and melodrama, you have your urban fiction, you have women's fiction, then you have this general cross. It could be history and romance, all of these different types of fiction that you could use and incorporate. So moving on to module 3. So let's just see what we have lined up in module 3 and the agenda that we have for module 3. So it's more into, the different types of writing, getting down to the theory and, each and every tiny detail into writing. Like, we are just going to be covering different types of writing, which you will get to know, especially when it comes to article, how an article is different from a blog, and all of these different kinds of writing we will be taking you through in module 3. Whereas the module 4 is the academic content type, content writing. Whereas module 3, we are going to be focusing on all these different types. So we have article writing, blog and social media. Then we will be going into reviewing books, copywriting, landing pages, ebook writing. Then we have writing cover letters, ghost writing, grant writing, script writing, dialogue writing, press releases, product reviews and descriptions, technical writing, then user manuals, frequently asked questions, fiction writing, medical writing, SEO writing, resume writing, newsletters, magazines, and proposals. So module 3 is more into the different types of writing and how we could, how one type of writing is different for the other and how to make the best use of it. Yeah, so the first thing is how to begin with book writing, right? So the main thing is to begin with book writing. Now, when we are into writing and, we write a lot of poetry, we write a lot of technical stuff. It could be you're writing a lot on a specific topic that you have an expertise in a domain. So writing on, so you have everything written down there. Now it's time for you to get down to writing a book. Probably you want to write a novel, or probably you just want to write a story or poetry. There should be a start and an end to it, right? So now let's look into the different way we can, write a novel and how we can go ahead and go to publish it, to send a proposal to the publishers, and all of these we will be discussing now. So the very first thing is obviously the main idea. You need to begin with writing a book. You cannot just say, I want to write a book, and you start writing a book immediately on the spot now. So there should be, the main thing is about writing, coming up with an idea. What should your book be all about? Should it be on the technical terms? Should it be on your domain knowledge? Should it be based on your HR policies that you know, or your technical terms, or some advices, or some inspirational stuff, or there should be a hook to your novel, or it could be anything. Now, say for example, if you want to write on child psychology. So on child psychology, there are different types of subtopics that you can specifically write on. Okay, so there is different ways to come up with your own idea. No one can influence you as to what your idea should be about. Maybe you can definitely get insights, but the main thing is the interest that you want to write on. Now, let's say that you have a particular book in mind. You want to write something on fiction now, right? So the first thing is come up with an idea. So here your idea is the main opening point to start with your book. So then when you come up with an idea, you go ahead and then now you research your concept. So you've come up with an idea. So say you want to write something on history and romance. Okay, so now this is the idea. Now this is just a basic idea that you have. Now what you need to do is you need to go ahead and research this concept. Okay, whether these books are already there in the market, how should your book be different from the ones that are already existing. You do not want your book to get lost in the number of books that are available on the specific topic and the same concept and all of that, right? So first thing is you come up with an idea, and then the next thing is you go ahead with the research. You now do the research on your concept. So once you research your concept, then you further go ahead and develop your concept. So the first thing is you come up, then you research your concept, then now you develop your concept. So when it goes to developing your concept, here you are not actually writing the entire book, but it's like, how many characters are involved and what are the different plot points. So here is when you are just trying to give shape to what your book should look like. So until unless you draw an outline to your book, you cannot get your book together. So the first thing is to draw an outline. So all of these sub points is going to help you to get there. So once you have come up with an idea, you've researched your concept, now you're slowly working on the development part. You would also need to go ahead and consider your audience, right? So who your audience are, whom are you writing for? Would they kind of like the concept that you're trying to, reach out to them? Would they enjoy the plot points that you're trying to play, the theme, the scenes, and every tiny detail? You need to keep your audience in mind before going ahead with any kind of inclusion or exclusion that you want to add or exclude in your book. So you need to consider your audience. Then and this considering your audience in fact goes right from the beginning, right from the very first point when you are coming up with an idea, and keeps going on until you have completed your book and until you are trying to market your book to your audience. So keeping your audience in mind is like a continuous a continuous point throughout your journey. Then next is organizing your plot, right? So now you need to go ahead and organize your plot. So you need to choose a structure. You need to go ahead and choose your conflict type, because no book or no story you see is really happy right from the beginning until the end of it. It has to have some kind of breakdowns or some kind of conflict type. If there are conflict types, it's only then that a story is getting somewhere. And once you have the conflict points or the types or the different breakdowns in a story, it's only then that's going to bring out the emotion, the drama, the challenges, the fights, and the reunions and the breakups, and all of this is really relying on your conflict type. So now you are going to choose your conflict type, or you can say choose your structure. So So now there are different conflict types and structures that you can stick to. So one would be man against nature. So say, for example, you are trying to choose a conflict type, which is man against nature. Okay, so then that would be a good example from Avatar or your Jurassic Park, any of those movies. So it would be man against man versus nature, could be your conflict type, or your conflict type could be man against supernatural. So man versus supernatural. So here you have all your The Nun or The Conjuring, all these kind of series, your horror ones basically. So if your story wants to be all horror and supernatural stuff, so you or a conflict type which is man against supernatural, or man against man, right? So man against man is like most of the Bollywood movies, wherein there is a hero and there is a villain, and then they fight out for a girl, or they fight out for most of the Bollywood movies are for this, they fight out for a girl and stuff like that. So if you want to write something very Bollywoody type, so you would stick to man versus man. And there's another conflict type, which is man against society. So yeah, when you say man against society, there are some good examples also for this in Bollywood. Like, we had Padman, then we had Toilet Ek Prem Khata. So these are some really strong messages that were sent out, man against society, wherein you want to show that your character, your main character, is fighting for a good cause with the entire society and trying to bring about a change which the society is reluctant to kind of accept, but then eventually his journey of how he takes them through and how he tries to fight against the society single-handedly and bring about a change. And ultimately, because of the changes that have brought, the good changes that have come by, the entire society is now appreciating him and is going ahead towards the acceptance side. So man against society, then man against himself. So you may want to write like, man against himself. There are different wherein he's fighting out his own demons and he's trying to understand what are the different phases in his life, and probably he's just stuck at one phase and now he wants to get over it, and how he brings about motivation to himself and all of this. So this is about man against self, right? So there's a great picture on man against self where he's fighting out his inner demons. It's a picture of the Dorian Gray. You must watch it. It's a very great picture. So yeah, then after all of this, you have now selected your conflict type. You already have your idea in mind. You have done bits and pieces of your research part on your concept and all of this. Now you need to go ahead and consider your themes. So your themes is basically your storyline. Yeah, so when you're considering your characters, you need to make sure that you're giving a lot of importance to the characters, your protagonist, your antagonist. You need to now balance them. You need to, in fact, also you need to go ahead and understand the different situations that they would be put across. The different situations that are included in your story and how they need to progress with each situation and all of that. And then you also need to evaluate your characters. Now take for example, you need to also relate your characters to real life experiences that you've had. Now even if those life experiences are not a part of your story, you need to try and understand that had my character been in this particular situation, what would he or she have done? So this is the way you're going to actually add life to your character, way your audience would also connect with your characters better. So remember, while developing your characters, you need to choose the number of characters, you need to balance the characters, you need to get to know your characters really well, and you also need to evaluate your characters even in situations that are not included in your book. All right. Okay, so then the next what we have is designing your environment. So when you design your environment, You need to visualize your environment. You need to go ahead and consider the logistics, right? So the architectural cities. Now, say for example, if a group of people were on a adventurous trekking or something like that, and probably suddenly in the middle of the night they've gotten stuck, and they do not really have ways to get over and to reach a safe place or something, right? So you need to go ahead in detail with regards to the logistics and their journey of how they spend that lonely dark night in the jungle, and how they need to go ahead and find the way out from the place that they are stuck in, and all of these. It shouldn't be like yesterday they are stuck and tomorrow you start off with a new paragraph wherein everything is back to square one and normal. So you need to make your novel or your book as realistic as possible. Even though it is fiction, you have to make sure that everything looks realistic, and everything needs to be given a lot of logical sense to it. Yeah, then another important point is get yourself a writing space. In fact, this is one of the most important points that I would like to talk about. Now, choosing the way you write and finding your writing space without interruption or without any kind of disturbance is one of the most important points to your success. Now, you have a lot of ideas flowing, you have everything is in line, but you do not have a writing space wherein you can sit freely without any kind of disturbance and get your words together. Because if that doesn't really happen, then your book is going to go nowhere. And another thing that I'd like to add is, it's much better when you have certain words set for yourself. Like you say, this a month I need to complete at least 5,000 words, so by end of the third month I need to have 15,000 words in my book. Or say if you want to go ahead chapter wise, you can also set your goals based on chapter wise. In a month I want to complete like 2 chapters, and give yourself like a deadline and a timeline as to when you want to compile all of these together, so you can work. So the most important thing is getting yourself a writing space, working on your small goals that you would set for yourself, and then going ahead with preparing the outline and managing your characters and giving your characters motivation. If we see, so research and find your source ideas, subject goals, approach relevant people. Okay, all of this. Yeah, so now some of the software to use for writers. Now you have here Microsoft Word, which is like $80 or something. Then you have Microsoft Publisher. Then you have LibreOffice Writer, Scribus, Scrivener. In fact, now see, when Microsoft Word came, it was in fact the only available option, right? So it was used for your business writing, for lawyers, for teachers, for marketers, and for students, for writers, for basically any kind of writing. Microsoft was the only option. But then Scrivener is just specifically, it is probably the best only for writers, widely used, and it is the best because it is only and specifically for writers. When I say writers, it's for ones who want to get down to write their books or their novels and all of that. It has a lot of tools, and it has a very cool interface to work on as well. So apart from these, I would also mention some of the free softwares that you could use. You have here Focus Writer, then you have Fast Pencil. Then I've also mentioned to you time and again about Google Docs. So Google Docs is a real cool app. You can just download it on your phone. You can work anytime. So not necessary you just get down to your laptop and if you have an idea, open the particular software and start writing. So you have Google Docs. It is you can just download it from your Google Play Store, and then you can start writing any kind of idea that crops up. You can immediately pitch it in. So Google Docs. And yeah, another thing is it's free. You can add your teammates. You all can work together. Maybe if you're co-authoring a book or something, both of you all together can do it at the same time and all of that. Then you have Pages, Pages. This is a Mac alternative to Microsoft Word, and yeah, it has a variety of beautiful templates, simple designs, and it syncs with all devices from within the iCloud, so you can access it to a number of different places. So that's your Mac alternative to Microsoft Word. Then you have Freedom. Here, you can also block your unwanted sites. So yeah, these are some of the cool softwares for you to go ahead and just begin your writing journey. So here's Microsoft Publisher. Like I told you, in Microsoft Publisher, you also have a lot of templates if you want to go ahead and create a magazine or a news letter. You have a number of templates. So it's your Microsoft Publisher. Then the formatting bit. So in MS Word, like you have your Microsoft Word, so the formatting bit, keeping the margin to 1 and the indent spacing. This is just the normal. If you want, you can like go back. It's on module 3 slide 7 to just look into the formatting. Okay, now structuring the book. Okay, now when it comes to structuring your book, see, you have your front matter text and your back matter. So in the front matter, it would be your title page, of course, then your information, your dedication, like a short note about what your book is about, a synopsis. Then you have introduction written by another acknowledged person of the book. Then you have your table of contents. So all this goes in the very front part of your book. Then your text, you have all the chapters, you have the abstracts, brief summary of the book here. Then yeah, you have your footnotes and all of that, the entire content basically. Then towards the end, if there are any glossaries that you would want to specify and focus and simplify, you have your glossaries, appendixes, then references. If you have cited information from 2-3 other books and you just want to cite the sources, all that goes in the back matter. But apart from this, so structuring the book, the format while writing a book, the first thing is to understand basic story structures. Now, when you're writing novels and stuff, obviously you will not have these references because you're not going to be citing sources of information. The citing sources of information is more on, you can say, as a domain specific, when you're writing on a specific topic or a subject. It's only then that you are going to be citing sources. Otherwise, when you are writing fiction and all that, it's obviously all your own ideas. However, you can always input insights from other books and stuff, but yeah, that will not come as sources and stuff. It would just be you're just getting insights to draw your outline of the story. Okay, so structuring the format while writing the book is basically first you need to understand your basic story structures. Like, there are some people who do not write everything in one line. Maybe they've written like bits and pieces of different experiences in their life. All right. So it would be in different phases, different experiences, different places, locations, different parts of their life, walks of their life, and all of that. And now looking at those experiences, they just want to compile it all together and make it into a book, adding, different characters and stuff. And now you want to like give it a logical structure with smooth transitions and stuff. So the first thing is understand the basic story structures. Then the next point would be, learn the pros of different story structure types and how to logically structure it. Then you can modify the story structure templates to suit your plot. Like, if all of these structures are there, now you've decided to stick to one conflict type, then you may want to see how to work around what could be included, excluded, and how you could now work all these story structures towards your plot that you are trying to bring into your story. Then yes, you need to know how to structure a novel in order to suit the central idea. So you're working on a novel, and your novel is all about different experiences in your life. So you need to go ahead and understand how to logically structure it that would ultimately suit your central idea. Then you need to go ahead and create a novel structures early in order to go ahead and simplify your process. So make sure that if you have different bits and pieces from your life and you want to put together, you kind of just look, and in fact that is a great way to, you know, compile and come up with the book. So you already have like an outline. Now you're just trying to compile it together, give it a shape, and go ahead with, you know, suiting it all, or, you know, trying to bring a sync between the conflict type and all of these structures together. Right. So now you need to go ahead, once you have done all of this, identified and trying to, you know, stitch it up together in one piece. You also need to make sure that your story structure is largely invisible, in the sense, you know, it should not look like it's bits and pieces from different phases of your life or something. It should look like it's a complete piece in itself. It shouldn't look like, you know, this bit is from another story, this bit is from another story. It should absolutely be invisible. All of these story structures, when put together, should look like one complete structure in itself. Yeah. Then you need to know and play around with the structure with accordance to your genre and your theme. So you need to know what's your theme, your conflict type, and everything should be in sync. And your story structures should be invisibly stitched up together in order to make it look like one complete piece. So now moving on to proposal to your publisher. So now what's the next thing? You have your book, your manuscript is ready, you have you know, worked a lot on, you know, coming up with the way it looks and the way you have brought in the way you have brought different concepts, and, you know, try to focus on one conflict type and all of that. So anyways, all that is gone and done with your book. So the main thing is your book is now ready. Now the next step is, you know, you are trying to reach out to different publishers in order to go ahead and publish your book. Now, when I'm talking about publishers, there are two different ways of publishing your book. Either you can choose to self-publish yourself, that is independently. Otherwise, you can look out for different publishers to whom you know, you could send in your manuscript, and, you know, they would say that yes, you don't have to pay anything. They just basically want to go ahead and publish you. So like I told you, there are two different ways. In the first way, like self-publish your book, you have Notion Press. If you can look out on the web, you can just also type out and say self-publishers in India, you know, self-publication houses in India. You can look for that. Otherwise, you have your Notion Press, then you have your ProWress. Then, you know, these are a couple of the publication houses which gives you the option of self-publishing. So when you go ahead and decide to self-publish your book, you know, there are different packages that you can choose from. There are some, you know, it's starting like around 60,000 plus. So if you choose the basic one, they are just going to, you know, go ahead and publish your book with a payment of 60,000. But if you choose the other packages, like, you know, proofreading and editing and marketing and selling it to different locations and all of that, then that each and every added feature would come with an added cost. So then it's up to you how you want to go ahead and, you know, which particular package suits you best, and your market and your audience best. So you need to go ahead with that particular package. And when we are talking about sending your proposal and drafting it to the publisher, it means to say that yes, that you are sending in your manuscript. Now talking about Penguin. So say for example, Penguin, you want to go ahead and send out your manuscript to. So how it works, like they take it all in the APA for style guide firstly. And second of all, it should be the AP style guide. And if you are sending in your poetry or something, it should be 5 pieces of your poetry, random poetries that you have. Maybe you want to go ahead and publish 100 poems, right? So you need to give them 5 pieces of your poetry, in the sense 5 different poetry pieces. And they have their own style, they have their own requirements. You just need to go to each publisher and see the requirement, and then go ahead and send in your proposal. Yeah, so now let's look into, creating a list of potential publishers. So now when you have your book ready, the first thing is you need to go ahead and understand to whom you are supposed to be sending your manuscript to. You cannot just randomly pick out any publishers and just send them out, right? So you need to have like a potential list, and then from the potential list you need to narrow down to, shortlist few publishers and only then send it to them. Okay, so how are you going to do this? Now you'll be wondering, yes, I need to create a list of potential publishers in order to go ahead and send my manuscript. But how do I do that? So the first thing is you could head to Amazon and make a list of the publishers. Like the best thing to do is, research, like you've done research on your concepts. You know what your concept is about. So probably you should just search for books on Amazon which are related to your topic, kind of similar to what you are trying to bring to the market. So yeah, you need to do that first thing. So head to Amazon and make a list of the publishers. Then yeah, it has to be the same category of what your book is. Then, on Amazon you need to do the keyword search for the books of your genre. You just quickly punch in the keywords of your genre, like say suspense thrillers, or you can say historical romance, or you can say strengths of women, or whatever it is, right? So you can just punch in those keywords and look out for books of your genre. Then there are also other websites to which you could locate your publishers. So one is Authors Publish. So you can just locate your publishers through this site as well. So Authors Publish. Then you have Published to Death. It sounds very mean, right? This Published to Death. Yeah, so Authors Publish and Published to Death. So these are some of the sites that would help you locate your publishers. Then next is you need to refine and shortlist your publishers. So now you have made a list of your potential publishers. Now we need to narrow down. So how are you going to go ahead and narrow down your search? It would be like, refine your search and send in your drafts, the shortlisted publishers. So yes, how are you going to do that? So there are subtopics under this heading. So the first thing would be, does your publisher accept unsolicited manuscripts? Now, what do you mean by this? Now, say, for example, you have a list of 10 publishers, but there are only 2 to 3 who are going to be accepting unsolicited manuscripts. So obviously, the 7 are not related. You won't want to strike them out. Now, what do you mean by unsolicited? It means to say if without, and if you are trying to send them your drafts directly without an agent, would they still look into your draft? If yes, okay, then you're good to go to send in. But if they are only looking at manuscripts that come in from an agency, then obviously sending it directly to them wouldn't make sense. All right, then the next point would be, does the publisher already know how to reach the market you are trying to reach? Now, your publisher, he's there, but yes, you want to go ahead and send in your drafts to him. But does he really know how to reach out the market, right? So for that, you need to browse and look for books aimed at the same market as yours. So you need to understand who your audience are, where your market is, and you need to go ahead and browse and look for books aimed at the same market as yours. And the next one would be, does your book offer something new to the publisher's existing market? Right? If if you are bringing nothing new to his existing market, then why would he go ahead and choose to publish you, right? If there are already 10 other books on the exact same topic as yours, then it's not a great idea. You need to read books that are similar of yours and similar to yours, and just try and see the different publishers to which you can send your manuscripts. Then another important point is this a genuine publisher, right? Yeah, but now when you're looking at them through Amazon, and if they're already published books and stuff, but you need to make sure that they do not take advantage or overprice you, right? So you need to make sure that you do your research on that particular publisher as well. So, and if because if you have not heard of him much, but he has still published books, then you may try and work your chance out and see that, you know, how good a publisher is he is, or how genuine he is. So you might want to go ahead and check out his ratings and, you know, his the reviews to his publication house and all of that. So then once you've shortlisted, now finally what you need to do is, the first thing is, you need to identify and create a potential list. The second point is you need to go ahead and shortlist the list that is all that you already have. And ultimately and finally, now you need to go ahead and submit your proposal. So you've got your draft and synopsis ready, you've got the list of publishers set. Now you need to follow the submission guidelines. Like I told you, for Penguin, if you're talking about poetry, it is about 5 different pieces of poetry that you need to send. However, it would differ from one publication house to another. So in order to go ahead and send them, you know, what is apt, you need to follow their submission guidelines. And the guidelines will be the kind of books and genres they promote, whether they accept unsolicited submissions, what information has to be included, whom do you direct your proposal to, whether or not they are going to be responding to your submissions. You know, if they are not going to be responding to your submission, there's no point in actually sitting and waiting. Or if they are going to respond with a yes or no, how much of time would it generally take or normally take? Then if any additional requirement of materials are needed. So all of this goes into the guidelines, right? So you need to now treat your book like a business plan, essential when you submit your draft. And, you know, you need to kind of create interest. So the editors and the publishers may get convinced, and in fact, they may pay you for the completion. So you send like 10 to 25 pages of your proposal, and then if they find a real great hook and you know, they like the way your story is progressing, and if they like the conflict type that you've chosen and everything, and if it all seems good, maybe they may be convinced to go ahead and publish your book, and they may pay you for the completion as well. Yeah. But another important point is, now when you're sending your proposal, make sure you do not make the same big mistakes that most of the writers do. In fact, the writers make in their book proposals, the biggest mistake is that they discuss, it should basically, your book proposal should discuss what your book is about. It should kind of focus mainly on why the content would benefit the reader, and why will the reader even care. So why this book, rather than just only focusing of what your book is about and all of that, you need to understand on the why aspect as well. Of course, you need to, you know, send in your synopsis and your drafts and all of that, but you also need to mention what your book is about, why would the content benefit the reader, why will the reader even bother to care or read, why is this book important, why does it even matter, what need does it kind of fulfill, you know. So just don't get lost in only explaining your book's idea. So a lot of workaround goes in trying to sell your idea or your concept to publishers, right? So you need to do a bit of work on that. Yeah, otherwise, more or less, you have the other important information here, the title, your summary, and, you know, the reasons why the book is needed and how it fits in. So all of these are some pointers that you can take into consideration. Okay, so now article writing. So yes, so article is a piece of write-up that is intended for wider audience to give more information, you know, or opinion over a selected topic, which is mainly, you know, looked at to be published in a newspaper, magazine, or also probably an online forum, right? So that's about the article, and the main intention is the, you know, the audience is the print media, so the ones who are looking into newspaper and stuff. So that is where their audience are from. So it's usually intended for publication in a newspaper, magazine, or journal for a wider audience. So yeah, steps involved in article writing: you need to first select a topic and then address your audience needs. You can, yeah, format and steps. You know, the first thing is selecting a topic, addressing the needs of your audience. Then you get down to your research, you tighten your draft, then tighten your draft in the sense, be very specific and cut out all the dead weight, make sure it is logically structured, give it, specific details. Then towards the end, obviously read, revise, repeat, and then make sure that you follow the style guides for, a specific journal that you're writing for, or there are different articles having different style guides that have to be followed. So make sure you stick to the style guides with regards to that, and do your research, write the introduction, develop the paragraphs, make sure that there's a lot of facts backing your data and your research. Yeah, then build your data around a lot of subheadings, a lot of paragraphs, and all of that. Make smooth transitions, and yes, definitely write the conclusions, because ultimately conclusions are, is what your article is going to have a lot of weightage based on your conclusion, whether you have drawn certain conclusions out of the entire topic that your article is circulating about or talking about. Yeah, so style guide of article writing. Then you have your conversational tone. The tone of articles should be interactive and engaging. Then it should be very engaging, yes. Then anecdotes, then adding stories, excerpts in between to make the article more interesting. Then having some kind of flashbacks to create the article plot. Then the comparisons, using comparisons makes easy for the readers to understand the topics. Then the quotes adds a lot of meaning and beauty to the content. Then facts, use of facts and reports that are applicable to add credibility in the content. Use a lot of facts. Then foreshadows, give information, future predictions, estimates to entangle the readers with the subjects, discussions. And yeah, you need to basically give a lot of future predictions and estimates and the like. So there are various tools to go ahead with your article writing. You have Trello. This helps you to get content ideas and assign the writing tasks to team members. So Trello is one good one. Then you have Help Me Write. So with Help Me Write, you can post article ideas. You can share and get access to a plethora of different ideas. Then you also have OneLook Thesaurus. Access the reverse dictionary. Then you have Atomic Writer. This is access the writing with respect to the specific target audience. Pro Writing Aid, it highlights overused words, redundancies, plagiarism, and sentence length. So there are these various tools which you could definitely get your hands on to go ahead with, giving a start to your article writing. Then you have different sites to publish articles. We've already spoken about eZine articles, and we have just done a bit on eZine articles, touched on eZine articles, and we have in fact gone through different categories and stuff on eZine articles. Let's just look at the squido.com. Yeah, so once this opens, we'll just see what it looks like, getting to know the different categories that are there, and how different it is from eZine, or how different it is from the other article directories that we have gone through. So yeah, so this is Hub Pages Network. Hub Page is a network of sites where people write about their passions. So yes, you can immediately start writing here, which is like a great platform, right? So let's just say, you need to sign and join. Let's just say we start writing. Holly Dappy. Okay, this is cool. Join the Hub Page Network. Okay, fine. The Hub Page Network is the best place to publish detailed, informative articles on subjects you love, right? So this is your password. Yes, so you can sign up right away on Hub Pages. So it has all informative articles on subjects that you love. So this is really cool. So you can start writing here, giving yourself a platform to begin your writing. So the Squido is actually the Hub Pages, right? So now let's go to Helium, and let's just see if this is something different. So, when you can start writing, you can also use this as a portfolio tool for yourself. You can just put up all your writing, your blogs, your articles, and all of that. And you can start showcasing your content over here. You can start giving the link to this, to your, adding it onto your bio and stuff. So helium, with the helium hotspot, anyone can earn cryptocurrency by building a wireless network in their city and creating a more connected feature. Okay, so by hotspot, let's just not go into anything that says buy right now. Yeah, so why build network? So you can watch a quick video on what helium is about. Why build the network? Earn tokens. Okay, connect millions of so what uses the people's network? Deploy a hotspot on your city. With helium hotspot, anyone can earn cryptocurrency by building a wireless network in their city and creating more connected feature. So you can see what this is about, make it more interactive. See, because we get to know a lot of these tools, these websites, it's going to add a lot of creativity, and it's only then that it's going to stay in our mind, right? So let's just see what this is for. So once we start pulling up each link, we would really know how useful each link is. Probably the helium is not very useful to me. Probably it may be useful to one of you guys. I don't really know if there's anyone out who really wants to pick up a helium. Okay, so yeah. Okay, yeah, we are done with the e-sign articles, the article alley. So yeah, let's just not go back to what we've already completed. Right, so yeah. So samples of article writing, plan ahead to avoid holiday binge eating. Okay. So again, another important thing to understand is in article, we do not have to pay much attention to, much attention to basically keywords, right? Because we pay attention to keywords only when we are, trying to get the organic reach or increase our organic reach on the digital platform, right? So that is when we need to go ahead. But when we are not focusing on the digital platform, because the main intention to post your article is on the larger audience, that is, we are focusing on the print media. So when we are focusing on the print media, we don't really have to bother about the keywords. But these days, whatever goes on to the internet and whatever goes on the print also goes side by side on the internet, right? There's no blog just being published directly on a hard copy. There is a copy of it. In fact, there's a lot of information on the web which is not printed. But most of the printed stuff is available online. Chicago welcomes the 3rd annual Holiday Beauty Bazaar for Naturals. So tips for article writing. Be objective and always write about all the sides of the chosen topic. Always write the headline that drapes the context of the article. It should create curiosity. Always maintain a flow of writing right from the introduction to the conclusion, and it has to connect all the points. Always use reliable sources of information and cite the sources. Yes, whatever information you are going ahead and referring to, make sure you do a lot of your citation and get your citation right. Never copy the content. Yes, when you copy the content, obviously it's going to lead to copyright infringements and all of that, and it's going to go into the plagiarism issues. And yeah, so the main thing is to get away from your plagiarism, we've already discussed. Make sure that you not copy the 6 consecutive words as it is from a sentence. So if you are trying to get insights, that's fine, but make sure there's just no copying and pasting right from another blog to yours. You can get insights, you can get ideas, but then you have to represent it in your own form, in your own way. So article versus research papers. So yes, in research papers, you can, there is a continuous research. You keep adding information, you keep researching on topics, but your article, once you have just stuck to your information, in fact, there's no hard and fast rule that you cannot add new information beyond the introduction phase. You can, in fact, add more information, and you can play around with the, you can update it. In fact, not play around. Yes, you can update it. An article is basically, you have like many, you cannot give out your opinion, whereas in blogs, you can give your own opinions. So this is the thing about an article, you cannot give out your own opinions.